Welcome everybody to another episode of Careers in Sight. We're so happy to have you. My name is Derek Calvert. I'm the program manager for the Montana Educational Talent Search. And if you're joining us today, you're probably here to learn a little bit about engineering careers, engineering programs in college, and just what you need to do in order to succeed in that field. I'm so excited to hear whatever we hear today, and hopefully this can help you in any way that it can. And if you have any questions, any comments, please comment them. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you have to say, whether you're on this live call or you're listening to the replay of this. Make sure to comment. We'll get your questions answered. I'm joined here today by a special guest, Stephanie McCalla. We're so excited to have you. Would you mind introducing yourself for us?
Of course, yeah. So my name is Stephanie McCalla. I am faculty at Montana State University. I'm in the Chemical and Biological Engineering department, but we are starting up a biomedical engineering major, which I have been involved in starting up. So that's actually my background is biomedical engineering, moving from a program that really focused on mechanical engineering to a graduate program that was more focused on chemical, and a postdoc as well, and then here. So I work with a lot of different engineers. I've seen a lot of different types of engineering. I really love all of it. So I'm really excited to answer your questions today.
Awesome. Well, we can just jump right in and get in. And like I said, for any of our viewers, feel free to comment with any questions that you might have, and we will get right to it. First things first, Stephanie. What was a big thing, or what were a few things that helped you decide that this career field was for you?
Yeah, so I did not start out knowing that this is what I wanted to do, and I definitely didn't think I was going to end up being faculty at a university. When I went to college, I was a declared biochemistry major because I just didn't know what else to do. And when I got there just so happened to be a biomedical engineering major offered at the university I went to, which wasn't necessarily that common at the time. And I just knew it was for me because I loved medicine. I thought about being a doctor, being a nurse. I loved more of the clinical side of it, but I also really loved math and science and tinkering and building things. And all of a sudden there was this major that it just felt like it was exactly what I needed. So I kind of threw myself into that my freshman year of college, and I never looked back. And that's how I ended up here.
That's cool. I love to hear when people really, follow their dreams. Like to, especially, so I guess to follow up to that, did you kind of found out what you wanted to do your freshman year of college, or did you learned as you went? Could you maybe explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So when I came to college, I didn't know the major even existed really. And so it was really exploring during my freshman year that I changed my major, but I knew people who transferred into and out of the major later on, and that's also completely an option.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know there's probably many people who, many of our students who might not know exactly what they want to do, don't know the certain names of majors. They have an idea, they have a passion, they have a dream, something of that matter, and sometimes it does take a year or two to figure out what you want to do. So, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and a lot of the first classes we take are more general prerequisites that are going to be shared between a lot of majors, and so when you transfer, you're still going to be able to use those classes. So it's completely fine to go to college not knowing what you want to do. I certainly didn't know.
Yeah. Me either. I mean, I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but then it just completely drastically changed. So
exactly.
And that happens. Well, as we move on, what as we look more into engineering degrees and some of the different offerings, at MSU or really anywhere else, what what are some of the different engineering degrees that someone can get?
Yeah, there's quite a few, actually. I think there's more than people realize. They're the ones that people identify with more. Maybe they're more common, like chemical, mechanical, electrical, engineering, all. But we also have programs in, there's also civil or structural engineering. We have a civil engineering program here. We have an environmental engineering program, industrial engineering. We just started biomedical engineering. And other programs around Montana, I believe there's a petroleum engineering program. And elsewhere, we have a biological engineering here as well. But elsewhere you can find agricultural engineering, nuclear engineering. I mean, it's actually pretty surprising once you start looking into it, how many different types of engineering that there are.
So kind of, it could be, you might be really interested in engineering and then discover that there's all these different areas, and you can even specialize into more specific fields.
Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely could. For example, computer science in Montana State is housed in the engineering department. That's certainly a type of engineering as well. So you could be doing anything from working in a lab with cells or animals if you're a biomedical engineer, doing more works with clinicians like doctors and nurses. If you're a civil or a structural engineer, you could be out on job sites helping make buildings safer, drawing up building drawings on your computer. You could be coding as a computer scientist, making electrical, devices as an electrical engineer. You could even be an environmental engineer and out sampling, water and out in the field, working outside in the sunshine and the rain. But it's so broad, actually. I think it really can accommodate so many different interests.
That's so cool. I know my brother went into mechanical engineering, and that's what he was able to get his degree in. What if somebody, hypothetically was a mechanical engineering major and then wanted to just jump into civil engineering? Would that be too difficult? Is there a lot of similarities? A lot of differences?
Yeah, I don't think it would really be that difficult, especially your first couple of years. Most engineering curricula, you're going to be taking calculus, statistics. You probably are going to want to be taking physics, maybe chemistry or biology, depending on the type of engineering. So those overlap really well. And a lot of those engineering programs are actually housed in the same department at Montana State. Mechanical and industrial are in the same department. They share a lot of the same classes. A lot of people jump from mechanical into material science engineering. But yeah, the sort of the civil or structural engineering jump to mechanical or vice versa would definitely work well, because for both you need to understand sort of mechanical systems and stresses and strains, forcing and loads on different components and things like that. So mechanical and structural for sure. So I think that you can very easily move between the fields sometime in college, and some people even do it a little bit, in graduate programs. They'll move from one engineering to a related engineering field in a graduate program.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I mean, I imagine that's good to know for some students or anybody really looking into engineering. Yeah, and I like how you do preface that, your first couple of years are, more general prerequisites, things to kind of help you to figure out what you want to do as well.
Yeah, and you'll have a few courses that are in your major, and usually they're review courses that are going to go over a lot of what that major does, which will also be helpful, because if you get there and you take those courses and you say, hey, this isn't for me, you can make a lateral move somewhere else, whether that be within engineering or even outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so great. Thank you for sharing that information with us. Um, let's keep moving on, see what other kind of questions we have here today. Stephanie, what are some skills? So let's say, some students are looking into engineering and they want to develop some skills. They want to prepare themselves to go either to get into some of these classes or whatever it might be. What would you say are some skills that a student should obtain if they want to succeed in this field?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we try very hard to make our major accessible for a student that didn't maybe take specialized prerequisites in high school. But if you have the ability, it would free up time if you took things like calculus or chemistry and physics and sort of sharpen that. Or even if you have the ability to take APs, that's great. If you don't, that's completely fine. You can finish in 4 years. Statistics is another one that I think becomes very important. But I would say the most overlooked skill in engineering is probably writing, which some people don't want to hear. A lot of people say I went into engineering because I don't want to write, and I have the unfortunate job of informing them that writing is very important for most engineering careers. Maybe not all, but yeah. So just really nice, concise, technical writing where you're really communicating ideas very clearly is something that we will be working on here in college.
Could you, I guess, explain a little bit further why writing is so important in engineering?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is, you can do a lot of technical work, but a lot of what engineers do is applied science. So we're building things for people and for systems. And in order for people to use that, you have to be able to communicate what you did, communicate what's needed. You're going to work maybe collaboratively with people in other fields, both within and outside of engineering, and you need to be able to communicate with them what is necessary back and forth. In my job in particular, I write like scientific journal articles, I write grants. In other people's jobs, they're going to be writing reports. Maybe that's a report to your employer or to your clients. So it pops up all over the place. It's hard to escape.
I think that's common for a lot of majors and a lot of careers and things like that. They go into a field thinking, oh, I won't need to write, or oh, I won't need to do math, or things like that. And but for the most part, those skills are just incredibly important. I'm glad that you brought that up. And actually, I wouldn't have thought about that if I were talking with a student about an engineering and be like, hey, you should really work on some writing skills. I mean, yeah, specifically. So I'm glad that you brought that up. That's really, I think that's really insightful. So I just want to reemphasize to any of our viewers, if you have any questions about engineering careers, engineering majors, please feel free to comment with any questions. And so I know you did kind of talk about some classes to take. You talked about statistics. I know you mentioned that, some AP calculus. If you can't take AP classes, try to take some of those more maybe higher level math classes. Are there any other classes that you might recommend taking in high school?
I don't think so, at least not off the top of my head. I think just, following your interests and also remembering that if you don't prep for this career in high school, you can still absolutely do it. It's accessible to you once you come to college. So we don't want to make this only accessible to students who definitely knew they wanted to be an engineer and took all these classes. We've planned it out. You can graduate in 4 years. You'll be okay.
That's good to hear too. And for, smaller schools too, like I know I've heard before as well, smaller schools don't always have those higher level classes, and they
Right.
can't always get into, some of those courses to be able to take. They're, as long as you're willing to work hard and do the effort, you can, once you get to college, you'll be able to succeed for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we do realize that those opportunities aren't available at every school. And we've made it so that there's a reasonable course load that you can take without any AP classes and still graduate in 4 years. So just want to emphasize that for anyone who says, well, my school doesn't have that. Yeah, that's fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I guess, as we're going down, I'm not seeing any comments. Any final advice that you would give any of our viewers?
Oh, I guess that would just be to stay curious and have persistence. I think persistence is really important in curiosity. It's a career is a long thing, and you can, make a lot of moves over time and learn you're always going to be learning new things. And so, if you hit a setback, just know that everyone hits those setbacks. And it's okay. And struggling is okay. And yeah, just keep at it, I think would be my piece of advice.
I think that's great advice. Stay curious. That's why we're doing these careers insights. Keep looking into different careers. That's what we're going to do. We're trying to help you, as the viewers, see some different careers out there. In the next few months, we're going to be able to look into different career fields, like some transportation careers, agricultural careers, and even more beyond that. So I hope to see each of you or any of you join us next time. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great, super insightful. The name of our show is Careers Insight because we really appreciate the insight that we get from our guests. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, and that's it. So that's it for our show. Once again, leave any comments after, or if you're watching this on a replay, we'll get those questions answered for you. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, bye.